And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and I am way on the other side of the country right now. Can you hear the music in the background?
No, I don't, but Peter's in Vegas. Viva Las Vegas.
Leave it to our faithful leader, Colin, for, I guess, implementing some type of a noise-canceling widget that doesn't allow for the background noise to sound too loud.
Right. Like we can hear it, but it's not horrible. We'll live.
Well, that's good. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
That's good. I tried to get to the TYT studio to do it with Cenk Live, but I only made it as far as Vegas. So
is that what happened?
I tried. Didn't work out.
Right.
That's all right. But
there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about.
Hey guys, if you're new, welcome. Please subscribe. If only you were having a real beverage, but I know you're not.
No, I'm drinking H2O.
I'm sure you are. So guys, if you're new, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Welcome. We have a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to chat about. Oh, I see Bill Maher in there again. I loathe talking about him.
You people.
I loathe talking about Bill Maher because I feel like it gives him attention that I don't want to give him.
No, but before Cenk gets here, I think it's very important that we do play this clip. We don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, in the West Bank, we suspect we know what's going to happen because we don't trust Trump as far as we could throw him because, like, the hypocrisy that is Donald Trump's political disposition about nobody owns me, Miriam Adelson didn't give you $100 million to be your best friend. She gave you $100 million to annex the West Bank. However, courtesy of Rania Kalik and Breakthrough News, it does look like the right of return is actually happening with the Palestinian people.
That is not the right of return.
Well, it's amazing.
But what are they going back to?
Dirt pile.
And for how long? Because Israel's going to start again. They're not done. They're going to start again. these people are not going to have a chance to rebuild their homes before Israel starts its thing again. They've already said they reserve the right to do it. They're going to do it.
Let me tell you, I'm 2/3 done with the JFK versus Zionism book.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's really not a stretch to think that Assad may have had a hand in at least saying, Jack's got to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or at least the foreign policy of Israel was somehow involved in it, which doesn't surprise me. But it's all like this.
It's like the Trail of Tears. That is what it is.
Except the people there right here, they're really happy right now. They are celebrating. They're reuniting after families being separated for past 15 months. Like there's a lot of people that are very celebratory, and they would rather go back to where their homes were and live in tents. That's what they want to do. They don't want to leave their land. And this is what makes them such amazing people. They're so unbelievably resilient.
Well, there's also something to be said for what has been espoused for a very long time, which is the Palestinians are not giving up their land.
No, and it's no, but I'm very like, I wish I could be happy about this. I'd love to feel happy about this, but I know that Israel is not going to let the Palestinian people be in peace.
Well, that's also the problem. I don't trust Trump to do the right thing. I just don't.
No, I don't trust any of them. And here's him talking about that he is trying to get Jordan and Egypt to accept Palestinians as if this is some novel idea. It's like he is so just not up to speed on this issue. He has bare minimum talking points. It's so clear that he is so woefully uneducated on this. But newsflash, Jordan and Egypt have been approached numerous times by numerous administrations, and the same conversation will continue to happen. They will not take them. And the truth is the Palestinians don't want to be taken.
They want to stay in their home.
Yeah, so it's just so absurd. But Trump is treating this like any other sort of real estate transaction or business deal. And it's just with very little, he's using almost what seems to me no historical context, probably because he doesn't have any. But neither Jordan nor Egypt are going to, nor really is it their obligation to take in like 1 million plus people into their. Now, I would also suggest, though, that neither of those countries should be our bitches, and they are. So who knows at the end of the day? I mean, those two countries after Israel get our most amount of money other than currently Ukraine. But like, Egypt and Jordan are like high on the payroll. So they're going to, I mean, I don't know, but they can't take all these people.
I don't see Trump as cold-blooded the way that Biden was.
No, he's just oblivious.
I think that his privilege is really showing in that he isn't connected to regular people. He doesn't understand this struggle. He can't possibly understand it.
I don't think he's ever read a book about it.
Probably not. But then again, he's just trying to negotiate his way out of it. And that's just not going to work.
Well, yeah.
It's a blood oath. For a lot of people,
it's not a real estate deal, even though to him and Jared Kushner, it seems like
it totally make a great deal. We'll make a great deal.
Well, to them, the whole thing is a real estate transaction. Gaza's really beautiful. Yes, the beach is beautiful. He cannot even for one moment grasp as to why and what makes Gaza so beautiful, but it isn't just the beach, right? Like there's a lot of nice beaches in the world. In fact, I don't think the beach in Gaza is probably listed in like the top whatever. That's not what makes Gaza amazing. What makes Gaza amazing is the historical everything about it, which Israel has destroyed.
I think
like they keep destroying the land they claim to love. It's just
I also think Trump just looks at it as this is extremely valuable real estate. This is a primitive culture we're dealing with, and they just want them out of there. It's not that they want to see them get hurt. It's that for them, this is business.
Do you know what would happen to white, like Anglo people for the most part in this country if we were limited, like the people living in Gaza were limited in terms of supplies, access to things, being able to come and go? The fact that Palestinians in Gaza have created the infrastructure that they have over the past however many years of this ridiculous siege is insane to me. We would just die. I'm pretty sure that we would just die. I cannot believe how these people are so strong and so just capable in the face of such shit. And yeah, I'm just concerned. I have no, first of all, I don't trust any ceasefire with a state that doesn't honor ceasefires. So,
No,
Israel
I agree.
Israel has never met an agreement it's actually abided by. So there's
Well,
that.
that's also the tough reality of where we stand today, and where it's ultimately going to fall, I don't know. But it's obviously good in the moment to see that it's happening for the Palestinians, but we can't possibly expect that it's going to last.
No.
So we have to be on guard at all times. That's what you got to do. So, without further ado, we've talked at great length the impact that Bernie Sanders had, particularly on both of us, going back to 2015, and the impact that the Young Turks had at the time because of the corporate media blackout, which was so substantial in the most egregious way possible. And thanks to Cenk and Anna and the rest of the crew, we were able to see Bernie's rise and ascension to this left populism that we're so desperate to have in this country. And so taxation now, I think, is very important, because I think a lot of what we are fighting for is kind of at a crossroads. And so he is the founder and the owner of the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, welcome to Generational Change.
Thank you, guys. Good to be with you.
Hey, Cenk, how are you?
Good, Jen. How you doing?
I'm good. So you and I have only spoken as me as a candidate, I think, right? Like in candidate mode, in campaign mode. So we've never probably had like a real conversation. So I'm glad, welcome. I'm glad you could be here. And just so you're aware, like all of the bullshit nonsense content creator crap that plagues everybody on the left, I am very unaware of a lot of it because I'm not on social media. So just I'm putting that out there. So I'm asserting my ignorance in a lot of these matters. But
I
to
envy
me,
you.
well, you in reality, I don't care. People, look, there's people that love you and there's people that hate you and there's people with opinions about everything and you know it. But you are definitely one of the key people that have created what we now have here. You are one of the people that led to platforms like this. And I am very appreciative and have a lot of respect for that. And, you've had a lot of takes I agree with over the years. Honestly, I think you get a bad rap sometimes from people and, whatever. But I get along with everybody. But lately you've been getting some crap is my understanding. More than usual amount of crap.
Well, no, the crap just switches. First of all, thank you for saying that, Jen. I appreciate it. And it's rare to find grateful people these days. And so we've given a lot of people opportunity, and some of them haven't been overly grateful for it. Okay, but what are you going to do? That's life. In terms of the crap, look, I've gotten so much crap from the establishment throughout my life that I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to catch up to them. And I've gotten an unbelievable amount of crap from the right wing throughout my life, and Democratic leadership and mainstream media, and we can go on and on. I mean, there's a chance that I'm the most attacked man on the internet, like maybe in internet history.
Definitely
right?
in left independent circles. I mean, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, and nowadays the Democratic establishment. Fanboys and fangirls that never liked me are joined by I don't know what to call them, the far left, radical left, whatever. And so they're a little bit more authoritarian mindset these days, and they're much more into the culture wars, and they've lost sight of economic populism. And that's really what the average American needs. That's what makes us popular. By us, I mean Bernie Sanders, us, you guys, etc. And so I think they've lost their way, and they think I've lost my way. And they think that if you just call every Trump supporter a racist or a bigot or yell at them, that somehow that'll lead us to winning them over. No, they don't want to win them over because they're racist Nazis, but we lost the popular vote. So shouldn't we try to win the next election? No, don't try to win elections. Be more pure and self-righteous, etc. Anyway, but more than that, I can't stand that attitude of if you disagree with me, you are immoral. So my answer to that, no matter where it comes from, right wing, left wing establishment, is yeah, fuck off.
Yeah. No, I mean, and really for the most part, up until, we're talking about a genocide, I'm good with the agree to disagree. There's a lot of things that we can agree to disagree on. It's right now for me, I'm like, everything is seemingly black and white for the past 15 months with so many people. But for the most part, I'll talk to anybody about anything and work with you on whatever we do agree on. Like, I don't understand this mentality, and I don't understand people giving you shit for going on conservative or Republican platforms as if we should only speak to the people in our echo chamber. What good does that do? I don't understand. Like, that to me has never made any sense, giving people a hard time for going on other platforms.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the first thing they tried. They were like, "Oh, you went and talked to Nazis. That you're a terrible person." Blah 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 blah. Okay, and then that didn't work because people were like, "You're yelling at them for just talking to them? That doesn't seem rational, right?" And then they switched because that was inconvenient. They're like, "Oh yeah, but you actually agree with them on 2 or 3 things." I'm like, "No, they agreed with us on 2 or 3 things." Like they're now saying they're anti-war. Great, I'll take it, and let's put them to the test and make sure they really are anti-war, right? And then on the things we don't agree on, we yell at each other. So that's exactly how it's supposed to be. That's how America's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, some on our side have like binary brain, and they're like, "No, if you go on there, the only thing you can do is yell Nazi the whole time." All right, whatever. Okay, I mean, look, if it's just not a sophisticated way to handle yourself, but they're not covering themselves in glory. Let's put it that way.
No.
Cenk, I'm in commercial real estate, and one of the things that I think people on the left have a very big misnomer about, and everyone always wants to bring up the whole unionization effort at TYT. Can you explain to the audience, you've been running the Young Turks for 20 years. That's one hell of a long time to be running a small business that became a big business. Can you share with the audience a little bit of what it's like to be in free market America and the pressures that come with employing dozens of people, especially in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive markets in the country, all the things that you've had to do over the years? Because I don't think people truly understand. I'm not, giving a blank slate here, but I don't think people truly recognize the amount of pressure that goes into running the operation that you run on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, yeah. I mean, digital media is a nightmare. Almost all of the people who try to do what we're doing, because we're not just one individual show. That's a little bit easier to pull off. We're trying to build a network so that the left can have real power, so that we can affect the national conversation. We can influence people in our direction, which is left-wing populism, right? The Bernie Sanders, agenda overall. And so when you're trying to do that, that is very, very difficult, especially in a brutal industry where every other media company has gone bankrupt. So nevertheless, we were able to do this, and we did it through so many different trials and tribulations. So when it comes to the unionizing, there's this misnomer out there that our enemies push out there. They crack me up. So they back when I was running for office, like Jen was in 2000, the unions were on the side of my Democratic establishment supporter, and that's unfortunate. And unfortunately, in the past, the unions generally tended to support more pro-corporate Democrats, which never made any sense. It's totally irrational. Thank God now Sean Fain, Sean O'Brien are beginning to change that, and the unions have a different attitude now, which I love. But back then, IATSE was a union that was supporting Christy Smith in that race, and they were actually the main union that were knocking on doors, etc. And then right in the middle of that campaign, at its most heated moment, we were about to have a debate finally with Christy Smith. This story popped up that that TYT was going to be unionized, and I never heard of it. And I thought that they were, that it was people were lying, right? Because I was like, we have a great relationship with our employees. They would normally just come to us, right? And so it turns out they didn't. And now, in the benefit of hindsight, I now realize what happened. They got worked up in a good way. They were like, "Oh, we want to be union, etc." And I don't know that anyone actually knew that IATSE was, one of the top folks who were doing grassroots work against us and spending money against my campaign, etc. So maybe some of them knew, but certainly not most of the employees didn't know that, right? So there was this giant miscommunication at that time as to the motivation. And so what I asked for was, hey guys, can you do a vote? And by the way, there was a couple of people that came up to us and said, hey, we didn't want this, and they're kind of bullying us, right? And I don't mean IATSE, I mean some other folks that were there at the time. And so I asked for a vote, and we got a vote, and then they won, right? So and it's not a matter of they won. When they won, we didn't lose. We also won. I just needed clarity so that to make sure that my employees actually wanted it. And the minute they wanted it, great, no problem. IATSE came in and is now the union for our editors, graphics people, and stage managers. All wonderful people, love them. And then we have these probably the most friendly negotiations in union and management history. It's folks that I work with every day, and they're on the other side. And we've had 2 contracts with IATSE. We're both super happy with it. So there's no issues at all with the union at TYT. It was just an understandable misunderstanding, miscommunication in the beginning. But right now, everybody's happy. And these guys who haven't worked here in 5 years put out this ridiculous thing as if like there's like this big fight and we fought it and we don't want it. They're living in a world that doesn't exist. Like I just talked to a TYT employee today, just randomly. She'd gone to somewhere else to work and then came back in 3 months. She's like, oh my God, TYT is built different. This place actually cares, right? The other places are nightmares to work for. If you ever worked at TYT, you don't really want to work anywhere else. And I'm super proud of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know why people so why are people saying in our chat you're a union buster? They don't know the whole story. Like, I think that's,
and I don't blame them, Jen. I don't blame them because all they heard was from one side, and these guys saying, "Oh my God, they're union busters," etc. From that one miscommunication from like 5 years ago, right? So they don't have, most of the people saying that, they don't even realize we have a union. They don't realize that we had 2 different union contracts with them. They don't realize that both IATSE is perfectly happy with us. All the employees are perfectly happy with us. So I don't blame the people who've been misled. I blame the people who are misleading them.
And it's done on purpose. It's totally done on purpose. I mean, it's all done on purpose. And I usually think it's people that, I think people are jealous and they like to cut people down. And I think that people don't like people in their own field to get too far ahead. And especially, unfortunately, in this industry, it's very common. There is so much ego and so much bullshit, and so many people can't play nice together that, for a long time, I'm like, I wish there was like this network and whatever. And the reason that I think it's so hard for that to really work is people don't get along for really long periods of time.
And Jen, there's also, unfortunately, like both like attention and financial incentive to attack us, because you'll see on some channels, the video has 200 views, 300 views, 180 views. Attacks TYT has 100,000 views.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so that's a hell of a thing to resist. And so again, the people that watch them, they don't really quite understand that that's what's driving those folks. And so I never blame them. But for the folks who look at that and go, well, I mean, I don't know if I believe it or not, but hey, I got a lot of views on it, so I'm just going to keep going in this direction. Yeah, I mean, do better.
Right. But we've called out Anna Kasparian before on this show. I have, regarding her calling out Aaron Mate and how she reacted to him. We've called it out. And I don't, but we're a very per issue kind of people. I don't give blanket statements. To me, everybody does things that are good and everybody does things that aren't so good. And it's incumbent upon us to call people out when we find them doing things that we don't agree with. But that doesn't mean that that's not somebody that I would work with on 10 million other things. So
let me just say it real quick on that.
Yeah.
I agree with Anna on Aaron Mate, but so what? Okay, so like, does that mean I have to hate you for agreeing with it? No, of course not, right? And you mentioned Israel earlier, and and on this one, I think everybody knows that to say that I hold Israel accountable is an understatement, right? And no one would dispute that. But there's people that are pro-Zionist that I debate, that I talk to, and that I have a relationship with, and that are progressive in other ways. And so if I thought that they had bad intent, they knew it's a genocide, they know they're killing all the Palestinians and they're secretly enjoying it, okay, that's one thing, right? But even on that issue, even on an issue that we all care so much about, and that's a third rail, and that's a moral pillar, etc., right? I go, but as long as they genuinely think that they are doing the right thing and that that's a real opinion, okay, we massively disagree, but I'm going to talk to you about the other issues. Because, Jen, look, my guess is you've got family members who genuinely believe that Israel's doing the right thing, even though they're very wrong. I have family members who genuinely believe that the Turks are treating the Kurds right, right, and have always treated the Kurds right.
Right.
And right. And that's not true. But I'm not going to cut them off. I'm going to continue to have a conversation as long as we're not talking about intent, right? So that's my standard. I know everybody has different standards. So as long as I think you have the right intent, I'll talk to you about anything.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always say is the difference between actual ignorance and willful ignorance. And this is something that I hold people in my peer group and people that have affluence more accountable for if you've more access to information. I've given up friends. I have fired friends over willful ignorance. I'm offering you information. You're refusing to look at it because you just want to be stuck in your position. That is unacceptable. People that are actually ignorant, people that are busting ass working 3 jobs to support their family and don't have time or access to information or any of that, that's different. Actual ignorance is different. Unfortunately, I have not spoken to a ton of the people in my family on this issue. I just haven't because I don't want to know what they think because I know I'm not going to like it and I don't want to get into it. So I just haven't even talked about it.
Yeah, and that's fair too. It's a free country. You don't have to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
I think what's more pressing is how do we, I think we can agree that we are at a crossroads right now, just in terms of whatever type of left populism movement actually exists in this country. I think a lot of people are really caught up with Trump, and I think a lot of people are just kind of checked out in many ways, been let down many times, and the economy is not strong by any stretch for working people. So where do we go from here? And what type of a transition do you ultimately see your channel making in terms of, how trying to recapture what Bernie's movement was in 2015 and 16 again is so far into the future to even think about right now. But, how do we build on that again and make it sustainable this time? Because last time it was great, but it kind of broke off pretty quick. And we saw all the opportunistic people that ran through your channel led, in my opinion, and I know everyone has an opinion about who the biggest grifter was, but to me, it's definitely Dave Rubin, no question about it. And I think it's hard to, build that trust again. I think that that's a huge part of it. So would really love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Look, I don't think it's that far off in the future. I think that we can win the 2028 primary. And so it's not going to be Bernie because he's too old. But someone along the lines of Bernie Sanders, I think, has an excellent chance of winning the 2028 primary. We just have to make sure that they're honest and earnest and really mean it, right? Because what you'll soon have is a lot of Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom in flannel jackets, right, and shirts. And so, I don't need corporate Democrats pretending to be populists. That's not interesting to me. Because they'll get into office and they'll say the same exact thing they always say. Oh, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do, right? Bullshit. No, you're just going to take the corporate money and do whatever they order you to do, right? So we need a true populist on the left. So now when you look at the right-wing populism, there are some encouraging things like they are truly anti-war. And so now when you have a clash, which will come at some point in the Trump administration, where Trump will back Israel on some war that they're going on, either the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, as he's doing today, and if that creates a further conflict, or Netanyahu's always agitating for a war with Iran, etc. Will he choose his donors in Netanyahu, or will he choose his base? Will his base actually turn on him? I think those are good questions. I think the base will turn on him, and I know that that's a bold prediction because it hasn't happened in the past. And so the people that are in the camp of never talk to the right, you know, the right is, they're all Nazis and there's no nuance, they're all in a cult, etc. They don't believe it, of course. They think it's funny. Oh, no way. They'll always worship Trump. But we've already seen them defy Trump a couple of times in this new era. And
that's also something about the populist right that I don't think people truly appreciate. And it's more of the libertarian right, if we're being very honest. That's why we have a very strong appreciation and respect for Thomas Massie, who I think is probably the most principled member in all of Congress, along with probably Rashida Tlaib on the Democratic side, where it's like, I'm not going to placate to the party establishment under any circumstances. You know, we look at what happened. We look at what happened out in California. You know, I think if Katie Porter had run against Adam Schiff, that would have been a very competitive race. But of course, Schiff, being the you-know-what that he is, decided to fund his opponent, Steve Garvey, make him the nominee. And of course, you get to walk to Congress. So I think that there's a lot of infrastructural problems in the Democratic Party, but I also think that there is still a very strong populist streak that's out there. It's all about how do you cultivate it and make it strong again. That to me is, I think we agree on that.
Yeah, 100%. So I agree with you on Massie too. He's definitely an honest politician. I don't agree with, probably 90% of his policies.
We don't either.
Yeah, but I mean, give me honest politicians all day, every day, right? So there's not that many of them. So I appreciate and respect them for that. So in terms of, reviving populism, we have a populist plank on tyt.com, and we're trying to get both right-wing and left-wing populists to sign it. And so we haven't put a lot of work into it yet, other than putting it up on the site, but we're going to soon. And we really want to get it out there and see if we can find agreement. So things like anti-war, negotiate all drug prices for Medicare, raise the minimum wage, paid family leave, and ban private equity from buying residential real estate. So these are all very popular on the left and the right. I know some on the left, again, unfortunately, don't believe that they're popular on the right, but they are. I've been on all the shows, and those guys do not hold anything back. They're not going to bother lying to you. They're going to tell you exactly what they think, good or bad, right? And so they really do believe these things. And you could say, hey, the Republican politicians or Trump doesn't really believe those things. That's true. I think Trump is in a lot of ways a fake populist. But the fact that his base believes, some portion of his base believes it, is great news. And so if you have a left-wing populist candidate and they go into the general election with all of these positions that some portion of the right-wing base also agrees with, that gives them a much better chance of winning the general election. So those are the arguments that we have to make. We've got to coalesce our side to the best of our abilities to make sure we don't go in a corporate direction, we go in a populist direction. And if we do that, we really can win the next election. And most importantly, take over the Democratic Party. Because Trump, you see, all he did was win a primary, then he totally took over the Republican Party. And they're not the same party they were before. They are in a lot of ways, but his base actually hates establishment Republicans. They hate Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, Mitch McConnell, Dick Cheney. They're not faking it. They actually do dislike those people.
Good.
So, yeah, great. And so we could do the same in the Democratic Party. And especially now that mainstream media is almost dead, we have a much better opportunity to get past their wall of propaganda.
I don't know if I agree we can finally get to the Democratic Party, but I definitely agree with, that Trump, as much as he's kind of like a mixed bag, you don't really know what to expect, which is also could be positive because I think but I do think he wants to be liked and he likes to be popular. And when he even was, breaking bread and making friends with the Muslims when he was up in Michigan, when he was running, and I don't remember the name of the guy who officially endorsed him on behalf of that group, but I know that he wants those people to like him too, as well as his MAGA people. And even if the MAGA people's reasoning, which a lot of it is America first, we don't want to be giving our money to Israel, we don't want to be giving, even if their motives are different, I think that that's something that Trump's not going to be able to completely ignore.
Yeah, no, Israel's a perfect example of that. Because on the one hand, today he says, why don't we just clear out Gaza and move them to Egypt and Jordan? Well, that's the textbook definition of ethnic cleansing, right? So it's as bad as it can be. And then him and Jared Kushner are talking about waterfront property, land theft and all this stuff. So that's terrible. And we know that Miriam Adelson and Sheldon Adelson gave him $337 million. We know all that stuff, right? And he put in Rubio, Stefanik, Huckabee, Walz. They're all terrible neocons, etc. On the other hand, he put in Domini as a charge of Middle East policy in the Pentagon. And he is the best appointee in a Democratic or Republican administration in a long, long time. He says that we've got no business in the Middle East. Israel is not really a special ally. Israel gets us into more trouble than they help us. And he doesn't know why we're sending him all this money. I mean, it's a miraculous pick. And the establishment Democrats would have never put a guy like that in, right? And so I think what's going to happen is Team Miriam or Team Israel is at some point going to clash with Team Populist MAGA, right?
Yes.
And so when they do, what will Trump do? Now, he could go with the donor class, which is what he's always done in the past. But Jen, you're 100% right. He also likes to be popular. It's not even a war. Like, he likes infinite money, how by hook or by crook, no question, right? But he also loves being popular. So that's why it's going to be a clash. And that's why I'm not sure who's going to win. And so there is the great thing. The one upside of Trump is that you can't predict him. So if Kamala Harris was president, we know with absolute certainty what she would do.
Yes.
She would never waver from the AIPAC position. Okay. And by the way, that's also true of pick any Republican, Marco Rubio, if he was president.
Trump's the wild card.
Yeah. But Trump's the wild card. So if Netanyahu tries to dog walk him around the park like he did with Biden, yeah, he might go for it like he did today. He might go for it 2 or 3 times as long as the money keeps rolling in. But there's some chance on the 4th or 5th time, Trump's going to go, wait a minute. Do you think you're the boss of me? No, I'm the boss of you. So you can go ahead and fuck off now. And if he does that, that would be awesome.
That's what I would like to see happen. I mean, look, that's the only thing is and we said the same thing. We know what we're getting with Kamala 1,000%. There's no chance of her appeasing anybody but the AIPAC group. With Trump, there is this sort of slight chance that he does something. And again, even if with him, it's sort of like a broken clock being right twice a day kind of thing. Like, and you could get lucky for the whatever reason, but I'll take it. I'll take it. And I agree. We reach out all the time to people that are considered Trump people. We the other day had somebody on our show who I believe is a member of the Proud Boys, if I'm not mistaken. And, we didn't talk about that, but the idea is this is a class war. And until everybody gets on board with that, we're just we're just circling a drain.
It's also very easy to play into racism and sexism and bigotry when your pocketbook is thin and you do not have a pot to piss in. It is very difficult. And I think that this is a perfect transition to something that I know is very near and dear to your heart. Not too many people in the chat, I believe, are in the greater Los Angeles area, but you were obviously very much affected by the wildfires. You are somebody who we had actually reached out to have a conversation because you were somebody who took a lot of shit from a lot of people for suggesting that Rick Caruso was a better option for mayor of Los Angeles than Karen Bass. And it looks like right now, especially in lieu of what Caruso has done over the process of this tragedy and what the actual mayor of Los Angeles has done over the course of this tragedy, it looks like you were right 10 times over, to say the least.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, people are not fond of saying that I was right about anything. So I appreciate it's a rare moment. But look, the voters of LA will decide that in the next election. And my guess is that they'll realize that, yeah, we should have gone with Caruso the first time around. And this time it will probably be overwhelming. And I want to remind everybody, those are Democratic voters. Those are people on the left. And Karen Bass let them down. And so why did I vote against Karen Bass? Because here in California, Democratic leadership has no accountability. so the press, whatever newspapers still exist, LA Times, etc., local TV news, local radio. Well, I'll leave local radio out of it, to be fair, but the rest of them are tripping over themselves to kiss Gavin Newsom's ass, to kiss Karen Bass's ass. They never challenge them. One guy once asked, "Hey, we spent like $24 billion on homelessness. Where's the money?" And like Gavin Newsom was outraged. "How dare you?" or whatever. And then nobody ever asked again. Like, no, wait. If we're good-hearted left-wingers who wanted to help the homeless and wanted to help the whole community, we gave you a ton of money to do that. Where the fuck is it? And why? And no, that's outside of the Young Turks. Nobody ever asked them that question. And because, but guys, not having accountability for Democratic politicians hurts Democratic voters. It doesn't hurt Republican voters. They're not she's not the mayor of Tuscaloosa. She's the mayor of LA, right? So what that created was a culture of just keep going, don't actually fix anything, no responsibility, no leadership. And Karen Bass was a perfect symbol of that. And so I knew she wasn't going to lead. I knew she wasn't going to do anything different. I knew she wasn't going to challenge the system because she said it in her campaign. Her main campaign message was, "I know how to manage this system better than anyone." I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. This system sucks. And we need you to change it, not to effectively manage it into oblivion. And that's unfortunately exactly what we got. So a real leader goes, wait a minute, we're not getting water. I'm on top of it. We got to get this, that, the other thing. Why is the reservoir empty in the place that is most prone for wildfires and is proactive? When she came back and they're asking her questions, she felt like, you guys saw the clip where
horrible.
Yeah, Sky News is asking her questions. This is a legitimate reporter. This is not a fly-by-night guy, right? And she won't answer it. You know why? Because of exactly what I said during that election. Because they feel like they're above the law and they're above accountability. And how dare the press ask them questions? They'll do nothing and the voters will like it. Well, it turns out when your entire city is on fire, the voters didn't like it.
Yeah, I have thoughts about the idea, and we've talked about this before, and I've heard this as a candidate, and I'm sure you've heard this too, when people say, well, why don't you run for this? Or why don't you try running for this first? And all this stuff, as if all positions are interchangeable. Karen Bass was a legislator. She was a congressperson. What in the world makes somebody who's a legislator qualified to be the chief executive of an executive branch of like one of the largest cities in this country? What is that qualification? So I don't know because I don't live in LA, so I didn't do my research. But people just think that you're a known name, so all things are just interchangeable. Like, so you went to law school, so that means you can do neurosurgery, just what? Because it's nearby. So I think that is something that we have, like this idol worship about people and party places that is not founded on anything. But then to think that, oh, we'll just stick them in that place, as if she could do that. And I think we just saw that she clearly can't.
Yeah, and she didn't have a lot of management experience. But really, look, I know that it hurts some people's feelings because they feel like, oh, well, Karen Bass is on our side and blah, blah, blah. But she's insipid. She shows no passion, no energy, no leadership. I mean, when your city's on fire, you got to get out there and go, guys, here's what we're doing. And, you know, the fire department is doing this, police is doing this, and just be in charge and give us some sort of confidence that you know what you're doing. But now that the press has gotten a little bit more animated and they're asking her a couple of questions, she almost always gets caught flat-footed without an answer. And I'm thinking, okay, forget like public facing. Did you do your homework? Do you actually even know what's going on? Do you know when people can go to their house? I mean, it was so embarrassing. Trump, who almost never does his homework, caught her in a lie in the press conference. She's like, oh, people can go back now. He's like, oh, so can I tell them to go back now? She's like, no, not now. Well, is it now or is it not now? She's like, well, it's a week. And they're like, is it a week? And she's like, well, it might be 3 or 6. Come on. Be prepared. This is not like, and Jen, to your point, these politicians advance on two things. One is pleasing donors. The other is pleasing their colleagues. And neither one of that is really a good qualification for leading a city or for being an effective leader. So when I see them bragging about, oh, you should see that how much of my colleagues love me, I think, oh, that means you never challenge the system. You're a go along, get along person, and that means you're going to do absolutely nothing.
It's true. It's true.
I think that everything that's going on right now is going to have a lot of reverberating effects, whether it's in Southern California or statewide overall. I can tell you right now, if you are thinking about the 2028 presidential primary, I think a lot of people had a kind of an acceptance that Gavin Newsom was going to be a main fixture in the race. I think with what's happened in SoCal, in light of what has happened with the wildfires, he's finished. Like, I don't think he's going to recover from this. I think it's too significant. And the other thing that I think is important, Cenk, is a lot of times everyone gets so caught up in the language. Like, what are we saying exactly? Are we espousing a certain message? It's all about whether you're bought by corporate special interests or not. But the one message that I think cannot be missed here, that a lot of people, especially on the populist right, are correct about, is that climate change did not cause the wildfires, but they accelerated them. The language of this is so friggin' vital that the failures of government in California that didn't properly deal with the brush and other things is what caused it. Climate change just accelerated it to the point in which you couldn't control it. And then the last pivot that I think is very important here, or the pillar, I should say, when you talk about the fact that you cut the fire department's budget in Los Angeles, and the biggest reason that that budget was cut is because of the fact that you have a real life, John Huston character from Chinatown, the Resnicks, who actually have monopolized the water supply in California. This is a crisis, and they are some of the biggest billionaire donors in the Democratic Party. And we have to address this head on, as far as I'm concerned. And would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's not just the Resnicks, it's the entire system. Because why didn't PG&E bury their wires? That's probably the top source of fires historically in California. Because they gave campaign contributions to Gavin Newsom, so he didn't make them bury their wires, and because it would cost them a lot of money. And they took a small percentage, tiny, minuscule percentage of the profits that they got to keep by not burying their wires, and gave it to Gavin Newsom. So he didn't hold them accountable, and then in bankruptcy proceedings protected them and not the consumers because he was bought by them. So. Period. And it goes on and on. So there was a great progressive who was running along with me for a state seat back in 2020. And he made a terrific point. He said, the California Democratic leadership is always talking about how we got to negotiate and we had to compromise. He said, we have a supermajority. Who are we compromising with? And the answer is they're negotiating and compromising with their own donors. So they're literally, you don't have to listen to a single Republican in California. So when they pretend that they're negotiating with the Republicans, it's hilarious, right? In reality, they're just doing favors for their donors. So the underlying problem is almost always the same: corruption. And then some on our side, as you guys are super familiar with, really believe the MSNBC nonsense about how when Mitch McConnell takes $1 billion from corporate donors, he's the devil and he's the worst. But when Nancy Pelosi takes $1 billion from corporate donors, she's an angel and is not affected by it. That's insanity. They both work for the donors. And so if you believe that mindset of the Democrats are angels and they're not affected by the money from PG&E or the Resnicks or the oil companies or the drug companies, well, then you're on a different planet. The reality is it's good cop, bad cop. They pay off the establishment Republicans and the establishment Democrats to screw us all.
Right. No, it's like professional wrestling. That's what I say. Before you go, I just wanted to ask you, somebody's talking about TYT Operation Hope. So I thought you would share what that is, because I have no idea what that is, but someone's saying we should go on there. I don't know what there is. So what is that?
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm glad that they brought that up. So look, at TYT, we're constantly trying to help. So we've launched dozens of progressive hosts, but we've also interviewed now not dozens, but hundreds of progressive candidates and given them a forum. And some, like you, Jen, have appreciated, and I appreciate you for that. Others, once they get into office, not as much. Okay. But that's because we hold them accountable. We didn't elect you to be our buddy and to give us access or to do favors for us. We elected you to get those policies passed. And if you're not working towards those policies, we're still going to hold you accountable. Okay. Now and then we, started Just Democrats and on and on. So now what we're doing is Operation Hope, because we got to bring hope back. And so all it is myself, Cara Eastman, who was a great progressive who ran in Nebraska and nearly won.
I know Cara.
Yeah, Cara's wonderful. And she's our community director now. And we get together with people from the audience, and we do a town hall usually on Wednesdays. And you can find out about it at tyt.com/hope. And you can sign up in the calendar for the next town hall, tyt.com/hope. And we're trying to bring hope back. And so how do we do that? In the election, for example, we did this Trump madness thing where 64 of his worst lies, just to remind people, and some of his pro-war positions, blah, blah, blah. So that was more partisan. But then things like we helped in Maine to pass money out of politics ballot initiative. And so we phone bank for that. And then we just, the actual audience is coming up with all these wonderful ideas. And now we came up with a populist plank. That's why I mentioned that before. That's on tyt.com. And when you go to the populist plank, what we're trying to do with the Hope team is get that to politicians, influencers, and more people, and say, hey, are you on board for this? Can we work together on the issues we actually agree on and that the overwhelming majority of American voters agree on? So that's the latest project for Operation Hope. I would love it if more people join.
Okay, good to know. We'll put that information in our description for sure.
Already put it in the chat, guys. For those of you who are not, always keep an eye on the Young Turks. And Cenk, I just want to reiterate again, despite the ups and downs over the past decade, I hope everybody in the chat realizes the impact that you should always be remembered for, especially in the summer of 2015. I can remember very vividly a clip that you put out there when Bernie went to speak at a college in Virginia, and there was a Muslim woman in the crowd, and she started crying because she couldn't stand the bigotry that was being thrown at her. This was a very big rally. There was probably anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 people there. He brought her on stage. He gave her a hug. He talked about the fact that he was Jew. You remember this. And I just remembered that you were like the only network that covered this thing. This was a complete blackout from corporate media. And it's a testament to recognizing that even though there's been a lot of ups and downs over the past several years, I don't want people to ever forget that there were some people that came through the ranks at TYT, including Bernie's movement. Whether it's Jordan at Status Quo, whether it is Jimmy, we all, in a way, owe a debt of gratitude. And I just want to say thank you for that, because Bernie's movement, especially at that time, meant a lot to me, as it did to a lot of other people. And you really did a great job of bringing millions of people into the fold. They didn't have to stay, but they should at least acknowledge and appreciate the fact that you really did put a lot of your business on the line to cover him for almost a year and a half.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, brother. And, last things on Bernie are, in 2015, as he was doing this miraculous run, going from about 3% to 48%. I mean, it's just the most historic, amazing rise we've ever seen. ABC News covered him for 7 seconds. And so, whereas we covered him over and over and over again, because we were like, this is the guy we've been waiting for our whole lives. And so, I was proud that we did that. But I just will say one last thing. In 2013, so 2-3 years before Bernie made his run, I did a video. It's still up. You guys can look at it to verify, right? Saying Bernie Sanders can beat Hillary Clinton in that 2016 primary. And at the time, I think he was probably polling at about 1%. And so sometimes I see things a little bit ahead of others. And when I do, people go, "Oh, you're crazy, Bernie! That old coot in the Congress said that none of his colleagues like him." And I'm like, "I know. That's why he'll rise up, right?" And so they don't believe until it actually happens. So today, what I'm seeing is, oh my God, a percentage of the MAGA base is actually right-wing populists. For God's sake, let's go grab those guys, first of all, win our own primary, then go win the general election so we can help the average American take the win if they agree with you. Please, let's be smart. Let's build a movement that actually wins elections and changes the country.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on. Keep fighting the good fight. We hope to speak with you again down the road. And guys, remember, it's a class war, nothing more. We do not have enough people where we can be nitpicky. So let's fight that good fight. And Cenk, thank you so much, and all the best.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. And thank you guys. I appreciate it. And if anybody's curious about what we actually believe, we do a show every day.
Right. Like, check it out.
Right. You can go on Young Turks on YouTube, 6 to 8 o'clock Eastern every day, and check it out. Because there's a lot of people that say stuff about us, and then when people watch the show, they're like, "Oh my God, that wasn't true at all. You guys are like the most genuine left-wing populists." Yes, that's what we've been saying.
I hear you. Thanks, Cenk.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
You know, I just saw this come up in the chat immediately, which is kind of funny. I don't know what this is. It's almost like a phantom of sorts, but Romana, we've had Dr. Shiva on our podcast. So you could go back and watch. Yeah. So if you want to, he seems like a legitimately decent person, but I would advise you to watch that with an open mind. What did we learn here tonight, Jen? What did we learn?
So you don't like my music. Apparently was getting out of hand. I went to go put him in timeout, but I think you banned him. Did you block him?
I didn't do that. Maybe Colin did.
I didn't ban him. I just put him in timeout, but then I saw something come up that he's been banned. So whatever.
The thing that I think people fail to understand, it's like Cenk said that he stands by what he said and what Anna said regarding Aaron Mate, and you said, I don't agree with you. So what do you want to do? You want to stew about it for 45 minutes? This is the thing that
Travers, you were polite-ish. You didn't get banned, but you weren't great.
Was he Jewish?
He was Jewish. No, but you know what? The thing is this, and I've said this before, what will get you kicked out of the chat is being nasty about a guest. Now, saying things like, we hate you, and that's completely unproductive. Like, that's not having a reasonable discussion. If you want to post discussion, now sometimes people put things in that they want me to ask, but I kind of already know what the answer will be. Cenk is not going to be supportive of states' loyalty oaths to Israel. I don't need to ask him that. He's pretty vehemently opposed to the Zionist state.
We going with Jimmy next? Is that who we're getting on the show?
No, but let me delineate between those two people for you in terms of me. Okay. So the first time that I ran for Congress in 2020, Cenk gave me a platform on his channel. Jimmy Dore purposefully went out of his way to ignore me the entire time I ran because of a rumor he heard from someone saying that I took money from George Soros. So instead of trying to help somebody defeat the representative that he focuses so much of his attention talking about, Jimmy Dore completely blew me off and gave me he didn't even mention that somebody was running against Debbie. Cenk, on the other hand, gave me a platform. So a few times. Yeah. So that is the difference. I don't care whether somebody is what you call liberal, what you call conservative. That is not my concern. I am sick of the labels. Cenk gave me a platform when a lot of people wouldn't. And I do appreciate what he's done for the left because, by the way, Jimmy Dore and all of those other subgroups wouldn't exist if it weren't for TYT. So that's sort of,
Jimmy would exist, but he clearly never would have been able to start.
Not the platform that he has now. I mean, not the platform that he has now.
You and I are both listen, if it came down to Cenk and Jordan, we're 100% with Jordan. But Jordan did have an opportunity based on what he was able to accomplish with his relationship through TYT to have enough of a ground swell in order to start status quo and grow it. So I think there's something to be said for disagreeing with Cenk and even not even liking him, but
absolutely,
respecting the fact that he has given a considerable amount of growth to a lot of people in a way that somebody in the chat had mentioned earlier regarding other channels like Pac-Man, Brian Tyler Cohen, the Midas brothers. Like, you could never compare the two. Because
I just feel like everybody expects people to be 100% all the time on your team with everything you think. And the minute that they're not, you want to write them off. And it doesn't work that way. And it definitely would not have, if Cenk were everything that everybody wanted him to be, he'd be nothing. And he'd have no business and he wouldn't be able to exist, because that's not how life works. People have good takes. People have not some good takes. Sometimes we agree. Sometimes we don't agree. We don't just write people off. And yeah, no, Jordan is a friend. That's different. I'm not saying that I agree with Cenk or we're hanging out or we're buddies or whatever, but we just had a discussion. Yeah. It was a discussion. I mean, and that's the thing that people have to get through their heads. Like, you know, it's so ridiculous that people get so bent out of shape about who talks to who.
That's right. And that's where, David, you're right. But at the same time, it's also, you know, Cenk goes and talks with, you know, Charlie Kirk. It's one thing if Cenk all of a sudden just adopts Charlie Kirk's disposition about all of the things that he values. And that's not what happened.
Guys, I went on Tim Pool and I've been on the Michael Knowles show.
Yeah.
I went on with
Michael Knowles is, I mean, you want to talk about a real, like, hard right Christian conservative.
Yeah.
He is that.
And so I've been on shows with people that I don't agree with, but if I'm capable of reaching an audience with my message and what I want to say, and it's a completely different audience, doesn't that make the most sense other than just consistently being in our same echo chambers over and over and over again? I actually picked up several people from being on Tim Pool's show. And there are people that kind of, you know, cross over. There's people that are kind of, you know, fluid.
There's a big difference between Cenk and Jimmy that I want people to understand.
Exactly, Willie. That's my point. Yeah. Thank you.
You can dislike both of them, and rightfully so, but there's a big difference with Cenk and Jimmy. Jimmy takes everything personally, like exceptionally personal. You cannot criticize him. He don't want to hear it, and he's not willing to have a critical, thought-out conversation. Cenk is willing to do that, and you have to at least give credit where credit's due as far as that's concerned. I have heard numerous, and I know of numerous relationships that have been severed, canceled completely, because Jimmy didn't like the way the person addressed him, or it wasn't like you said, reminds you of somebody that we know in South Florida.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, for sure.
With that said, big shout out to S. Jera. Jen, we're keeping this streak alive. We're getting a new YouTube member every show.
I love it. Keep it up, people. We appreciate it. If you're new here, welcome. We kind of have been transitioning to 7, but tonight we were at 9, but then because Peter's in Vegas, but you said that's not why. So I don't know what we're doing.
No, I had scheduled this with Cenk almost, 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay.
So there's no way we could just be able to switch it. So that's why we're here now. But Yalabite, we must not let AOC be the face of the resistance. So listen, here's what I would say. Let AOC be the face of the resistance. We will find somebody who's the face of the opposition. Opposition is a much better word than resistance.
Yeah, there is no resistance. We call her the Mick resistance. She's the internal fake resistance in the political theater. Travers, I see what you're talking about Cenk and what he said about Assange. I didn't get into that. Again, let's work on areas we agree. There's no reason to talk about things we don't agree, especially that issue now that it's done. And
especially because Cenk took a lot of money from Jeffrey Katzenberg. Again, there's going to be limitations to what he's going to be willing to do. Remember, he runs a multi-million-dollar business.
Exactly.
And unless you're running it, trust me, everyone has an opinion until they're faced with having to make those types of decisions.
How can we end Big Pharma?
Of the FDA. I'm sorry. We need. May I answer that question?
Yes.
Single payer health. There's your answer.
Well, that's yeah.
Yali Bite with the 199. The left made a mistake abandoning Sherrod Brown. We couldn't agree more. We will see what happens with
he
former
thinks
Senator
that
Brown.
Sherrod Brown's going to run for J.D. Vance's seat.
I think there's a very good chance he might do that. And if the Democrats are smart, they would get behind him in doing so.
No one has ever accused the Democrats of being smart strategically. So
no, but could you imagine right now if the race for the Senate seat was Sherrod Brown versus Vivek Ramaswamy? It would almost be a shoo-in for Sherrod, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that plus they'd raise a shit ton of money.
They would.
That would be a spectacle.
It would. It'd be fun.
I know. The Democratic consultants will be foaming at the mouth for an opportunity like that.
Well, at least one where you could actually put a pro-worker, former public servant against somebody who clearly is all about himself. Let's be honest about Vivek. He's about himself.
Not a fan.
Bill, again, with the $2 of by and for the people, V for the.
I love that he has the picture of the Dalai Lama, too. I love that.
Well, that's what we need, right?
Yeah.
So
for sure. So what do you have to torture me with this week? Because the Bill Maher is not inspiring.
I know it's not inspiring, but it's necessary that we hear what Bill is throwing out to his audience.
I hate
on the
Bill.
one hand, Bill Maher is correct about the for-profit health system we have in this country, and at the same time, he wants to shit on Luigi Mangione. So you try explaining the logic of that.
Because Bill Maher doesn't really give a shit about the single payer. He just thinks everybody should have access. Like if we should have a public option would probably be as far as he'd go anyway.
Yeah. And so the solution is only single payer. There is nothing else. But you cannot ignore what's actually going on with the Mangione story as it continues to grow in leaps and bounds.
The plot thickens. Is that where we're going to go now?
So what Bill Maher is doing is the traditional uber upper-class liberal position, which is it'd be nice to have health care in this country, but we just can't have it. And we can't go around shooting people in order to get it. So here's what Mr. Bill Maher had to say.
One hopeful thing did happen when we were on our break. A health insurance executive got shot in the back on the street in broad daylight. And the kids couldn't love the guy who did it anymore if he was the leader of a terrorist organization. That's right.
You're an idiot, Bill.
Jen, he still has to suck off his Zion Nazi brigade in the Beverly Hills community. I mean,
I can't stand that he's a fellow pothead because it's like he's a disgrace to my people.
Oh, it does seem like he's drinking a lot more these days than he's.
I'd like to think he was more a drinker than a pot smoker because he does not do my people justice at all.
Well, I told you, it's those glasses. It's the glasses.
It's the glasses?
Last December, 26-year-old Luigi Mangione, fed up with the healthcare system in America, stalked and murdered United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, thereby raising awareness of the problem of insurance companies denying people's claims.
Got you talking
Lord
about
knows, that is a problem. People are justifiably sick and tired of paying through the nose only to get the runaround and a mountain of forms to fill out and, yes, infuriating claim denials based on petty technicalities. I guess my question is, why shoot just the insurance guy? The profit margin for the U.S. health insurance industry is only 2.2%. For drug companies, it's over 65%. And for hospitals, it's really hard to say what it is because their accounting is done by the Corleone family. Okay, a guy from the insurance industry is dead. That's great. But he's not the one who decided that the box of Kleenex next to your hospital bed costs $60. Hospitals set the prices that insurers pay, and costs vary wildly. The same procedure can cost up to 10 times more, not just with.
Why do hospitals set those high prices, though, Bill? Do you know?
Because it's a for-profit free market system, and you can kill people in order to make a profit.
Yes, but the prices of things did not start to get to the insane level that they are now until the insurance companies started controlling what everyone can and cannot give patients and do. And hospitals and other places have found that they can overcompensate for things by raising prices on stuff to compensate for shit that they have to deal with the insurance companies. So it's like a chicken and an egg. I'm not saying the hospitals aren't problematic, but I'm just saying it is also tied to the insurance companies.
Within the same city or same state, within the same hospital. Here's Here's what's so interesting about this. The reaction from different generations. Older people think it's bad to shoot a guy in the street. But 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds say it's completely or somewhat acceptable. Where
This
only
54-year-old
9% find
thinks
it so extra. Which confirms something I wish wasn't true, but unfortunately is about, certainly not all, but too many Gen Zers. They're fucking stupid.
I think he just hates getting old, and he likes taking it off. He likes taking it out on people 40, 50 years younger than him, unless it's a woman he wants to fuck. In that case, his opinion changes. But
well, of course, but I find it funny because I've been watching him long enough that this is the way he used to speak about the people that were older. Sort of like they have no idea, they're so out of touch, and now he is those people mocking the people. Like, he's pathetic. He is such a cliche.
When you think about when he was at his peak in the mid 2000s, when he nailed Bush to the wall, and he used to have George Carlin on his. Could you imagine if Carlin was still here, what he would think of Maher at this point?
He'd be ripping him into asshole. See, here's the thing: what I would say to Bill, if the Gen Zs are morons, it's because they were raised by your generation. They were given the education that your people put into place as policy. That was the education.
And so here I am again, feeling like an old school liberal at odds with the new politics of the far left, because it wasn't that long ago when liberals thought shooting people who don't share your politics was bad, or at least a microaggression. Doesn't pumping someone full of lead verge dangerously close to mansplaining? And what about gun control? When Sarah Palin posted a map with crosshairs on the districts of House Democrats she hoped to defeat in 2010, liberals went nuts. But now vigilantism is okay when it's someone you want dead?
Exactly,
And
Henry.
where does all this lead? Both parties having death squads? So, Luigi, I say to you, good luck in prison, where being handsome always makes you popular.
What a smug piece of shit.
Well, that was the statement that I'm just like, so he's hoping he gets ass raped in prison, is what he said.
No, he's not hoping that. He's just mocking the concept of it. But, yeah, and I've said this before, somebody like Luigi is very high on the prison pecking order anyway. But, yeah, I still don't think they're going to be able to convict him. So
finish it.
And congratulations on being a folk hero. But just know, you're not Robin Hood. You're not a hero. You're a typical member of your generation, too lazy to do the work to really understand an issue, but happy to pose as a social justice warrior for it.
It makes me want to punch him.
And that's where, you know what I think? I think Bill's jealous of Luigi. I think there's an inherent jealousy.
I don't know if it's just of him in particular, but if somebody that had some balls to actually do something. And for him to say that it didn't do anything, of course it did. It had you talking about it, doesn't it? And clearly worked.
What might have been, Phil? What might have been?
What if Luigi's parents had named him Israel?
Luigi stood up and did something. It's that simple. He did.
And Bill punched up. He punched up, and that is something that I will always respect.
How is it that Bill can get it so right in the first half and so wrong in the second half? It's exactly what I've been saying for the longest time. And this is what makes liberals worse than conservatives. Liberals want you to believe that they actually care about your needs. When in reality, as stupid stuff would say, it's all about money and power.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
I'm just so sick of the labels, like that he refers to the rat. Like, what did he say? The what left? What did he call?
The far left.
The far left. What far left?
The far left wants health care?
There is no far left. Not in electoral politics, there's not a far left. The far left people that I know don't participate in electoral politics.
That's a good question, Chuck. We have to put that out there.
To me, I will say this. It's not a great name. It's not a great name.
Oh,
it's got the donkey song.
You want the not to like
it? It's a little too cliche Italian sounding, but also there's the Donkey Kong reference. I mean, I don't know. I'm not into it. Okay. So what were your thoughts on Bill?
So, as I said, I think he got the first half right. He definitely used his platform correctly to identify the for-profit nonsense that is the private insurance, private hospital, big pharma conglomerate that spends more money than any conglomerate in this country lobbying Capitol Hill.
I think he downplayed the insurance aspect and made it be like they're just doing their job.
And when he talks about their margins only being
insurance executive, they're not making as much money as these people. Are you here? Like, that's that kind of thing. Like, who's your favorite president? What's your favorite venereal disease? How many people? Like, these are ridiculous things to be discussing.
The other thing that Bill is not addressing, which is a huge problem, and it's disingenuous the way that he framed it, is to suggest that, yes, are the insurance companies overall making a margin of about 2.2%? It's probably right. Do you forget that they are publicly traded companies and that there are people making billions of dollars a year off of the for-profit health system that is traded on the NASDAQ? Like, do you forget that happens?
No, well, it's that, but it's also, again, it's another stupid comparison. It's like the people saying, well, why'd you kill this CEO? He's not the highest paid, as if there would be a better calculus in terms of who to go after. No, they're all filthy. They're all committing violence. Again, I don't view what he did as acting randomly in cold blood. He shot somebody who's constantly committing violence.
And just as Watch said, we're all free Luigi here. You know why, Bill? Because Luigi represents the overwhelming majority of this country who are done with the for-profit health system. They will not participate in it. They will not give it another breath, and they shouldn't. You want to arrest me? Arrest me. I advocate for everybody to stop paying for their for-profit health.
Yeah. Well, no, and again, we have to reconsider what we see as violence and what they're doing, what the insurance companies are doing, what pharmaceutical companies are doing is violent.
I think what Bill Maher said is violence. I think what Bill Maher said is violence.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I have no qualms about that. But you know what, Bill? Thank you for giving us this brilliant piece of material, because when we clip it, it'll be seen by thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, and they will be continued to be reminded of why we need a single-payer system in this country.
Yes.
We are the only developed country on earth that doesn't have it.
Yeah, we'll use him just for that clip.
Of course.
Him talking about yeah, for sure.
And that is the beauty of it. And when we talk about the problems that we have in left politics, you know, we didn't get to talk about this with Cenk. We could have addressed this topic, but we'll address it now. And so one of the things that I think has been painfully obvious is that when we talk about economic left populism, most people agree with it. The second you push it into a DEI component is when you completely lose everybody. And so we have been very adamant about the fact that we think that Costco is one of the best run companies in the country. I think they do a fantastic job. And right now, the Teamsters are fighting for the Costco employees to get unionized, and Costco is fighting it. I'm not surprised they're fighting it. They're not just going to
like that they're fighting it, but you know, it doesn't take away that they've been good in the past, but it just means we don't like what they're doing right now. So both of those things are true.
And much like the criticism that we give to AOC, it's like you said, the Mockingjay. When you are supposed to be the person that people can actually rely on and trust, you deserve even more scrutiny. We don't expect the scum suckers to step up and do the right thing. It's the people that are actually that are cognizant of what's going on. They know the score. They know what needs to be done, and they choose to fuck up. So to me, I think criticism for Costco is very warranted. However, the problem we have is when you got grifting mother effers in the Democratic establishment like Al Sharpton, who just won't go away.
Oh my God, he is just
he continues to prove why the Black community continues to suffer in irreparable ways that they never should. And of course,
because of leaders like him.
Of course. And so that he goes to a Costco and he does a complete pomp and circumstance to be like, oh, they're a DEI corporation. They're great. How about just the fact that they generally are very good to their employees, they're very good to their customers, and they're just overall a company that cares. Now, you could argue that they should be very pro-union. Okay, that's fine. But they're still doing a pretty solid job. But this is what Mr. Sharpton wants to highlight.
I liked him better when he was really fat. Because then he sort of looked like Fat Albert. Now he's not fun looking at all. You guys got to watch what Tim Black said about this whole display.
Now, you think everyone in there is going to spend a couple $100 and Sharpton's going to pick up the tab? You think that that's what's happening?
No.
I don't.
No.
This is
and
just
we're not even going to look. You could talk about the stunt itself, or we could talk about the fact that DEI is a bunch of bullshit. So
or that it pays very well, as you can see from Jay.
Well, exactly. He's a total whore. But the DEI issue is really just an expanded, updated version of affirmative action, which doesn't really serve Black people. It really doesn't. It doesn't really benefit Black people. The numbers do not suggest that. The numbers don't bear that out. Now, Tim did a much better review of this, but to him, he says it's mostly for LGBTQ and all this stuff, and it's not necessarily benefiting Black people.
No, and unfortunately, that is the problem with somebody like Al Sharpton. It is very financially beneficial to continue this grift.
See?
So we're just going to be walking through this Costco at random and looking like we really care. We don't.
Oh, it's like we're just following Al.
How many of them actually have Costco memberships?
Who knows? It's just Al being a spectacle because he's a spectacle.
And they're using them as pawns. And the most confused.
Yes, Maeve, I know that there are Black people that are LGBTQ too. That is not my point. What Tim was referencing and what he was saying is that DEI laws are generally more to the benefit of that particular community, and specifically also to women. DEI and affirmative action was way more beneficial to women than it ever helped the Black community. And I do know that but that particular group of Black people, and as somebody who has spent a lot of time like in different communities campaigning and doing stuff, that group of Black people were older Black people, most likely church related, and they were voters. That was that group of people right there. Those were not the LGBTQ radical Black leftists. Okay. That's not who that group was. That group were just your run of the mill, working, older, middle-aged and older Black people. Did you not see it that way?
And as you've said before, it is very generational. There is something to be said for the issues that exist in the Black community, especially when you ran, and the people who got defensive about Debbie.
Yeah.
For what reason? What has she ever done for you other than show up at your, occasional event, whether it's at the church, even if it's a barbecue, whatever it is? That's not improving your life. But I also think there's something to be said for the generational trauma that gets beaten into people's heads in certain communities, where they really think that if we do not adhere to, the white devil, if you will, like DWS, that something really terrible will happen to them, even worse than the current circumstances they're living in.
Well, it's fear-based.
Of course, and that's why they're still, unfortunately, as we would continually try to point out, that Al Sharpton is nothing but damaged goods, that a lot of people still, for some reason, hold an affinity towards him, thinking that he's somehow doing good work.
Again, look at the age group and the demographic of those people. That is a dying breed of people. That is the older generation. And when I see people talking in the chat about being, you're in the LGBT group, and I saw somebody say they're trans and you can't get hired. That makes me so sad. Like, I wish I could give you a job. I really do. But the problem with the DEI and they do things like that is they do use the LGBTQ community. It's this pink washing bullshit, which is the stuff that they used to do. Zionists would do that about, you'd be dead if you were in Palestine, but Israel is so much better for gay people. They use that community as sort of this barometer of how progressive they are. And somehow that in and of itself attracts stupid ass neolibs that's all that matters to them, is the appearance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's really just, it's not something that I truly think in the real world benefits Black people. That's just my understanding.
See, you got it all clarified.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
So
I equally like and dislike all people. It's funny. Like that's what my son said. He's like, you just dislike everybody equally. I'm like, yes, I do. I dislike everybody equally.
So let's end on a positive note.
We have a positive note?
We do.
What do
so
we have?
Apparently, if you want to fuck around and find out, in Canada, they actually do arrest people for being complete and utter scumbags. So I think you'll like this one, Jim.
Jew, and I'm your boss.
In a humiliating scene, a pro-Israel agitator was arrested after attempting to incite and provoke a peaceful Canadian march against Israel's genocide in Palestine.
Because you're inciting this crowd and then it breaches the peace. Now I'm going to tell you to move over there. So you're refusing to leave?
I'm refusing to leave.
Why?
Because I'm a Jew.
First of all,
I'm so angry because I'm a Jew. Oh my God.
How about the fact that he points his finger in the cop's face in the cop?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, that's how you know we're not in the United States. That
No.
shit doesn't fly here.
No, here you would not get away with that, but maybe
nicer.
he would think that it would. Maybe he would. You never know. But
Jew, and I'm your boss. And I don't leave if you say Jews aren't
Well, you know
allowed
what?
on the street.
In the interest of keeping peace here and public safety, you're under arrest for breach of the peace.
Nice. And yeah, we will talk about Ali Abunimah. That is definitely something that I need to get more information on before I can have a discussion about it. But yes, journalist from the Electronic Intifada, which is a show that I frequent, Ali Abunimah was arrested. I believe he's in Switzerland. Is that
yes,
correct?
He was released earlier today. They held him for 2 days. Clearly,
under
the PR
what charges though? Like and this is Switzerland. They're supposed to be neutral. What the F?
Really, they're not gonna. This is gonna hurt them.
Okay, Ali is Sisyphean Task says he's freed now. I'm curious. Does anybody know what the charge was?
Trump did not. Now, Wanker, Trump did not say that he wants to wipe out Gaza. He wants to
clear it out. He said clear it out. Now, and clear it out from a developer's point of view. In his mind, I truly believe that he just wants to mow it all down and build up nice skyscrapers and do business.
Listen, it's going to be really beautiful. We're going to build them. We're going to build them really great. They're going to be totally beautiful. You're going to enjoy it. Really great time.
Oh, wait, this is what I wanted to say. He defied an entry ban? I don't believe that. I mean, I believe you that that's what they're saying. I just don't believe that he did that. I don't believe that that's true. That's a pretext rather. Sorry, I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I just don't. That is somebody who crosses their T's and dots their I's. He didn't. That's not true. So obviously, it's like a lot of other things. It's attack on journalists. It's going on all around the globe. They are totally like coming down on journalists.
Well, what you also have to remember is that Ali is very pro-Palestinian. They don't want to hear it.
Well, he's also a socialist and a lot of other things. But
and so Davos, it's like the complete opposite. It's all Zionists and it's all uber ultra capitalists. So of course,
but
he's not going to be welcome.
Switzerland, for God's sake.
Yeah, but Switzerland is really taking a big chance with their reputation by doing that. Yalabite, thank you for the 199. We need a strong leftist president like Colombia. How about Mexico? We don't even need to go to Colombia.
Her. I like that lady in Mexico.
The thing you also got to respect about Steinbaum, two things. One, she's Jewish and she's not Zionist. And number two, she's willing to take shots at Trump, like in a way that actually bothers him.
And here's the thing. She's going to be she's interesting to him. He's not going to go at her. He knows that you can counterpunch. She's too likable. She's too appealing. He won't make fun of her in the way that he's made fun of and mocked other leaders. He won't give her a dumbass nickname. And he will treat her differently, mark my words. He will not treat her like he's treated other leaders and disrespect. I guarantee you he won't. because it will be a very bad look for him. He'll come off looking like a real bully, and he won't want that. He won't go after her.
No, he probably has a crush on her too. So don't forget that.
I have a crush on her, but that's not the point. I mean, I think it's just it's bad optically for him to go on any sort of offensive with her. I just think he'll come off looking horribly. It's not a good look.
Well, his instincts are generally pretty good. So I agree. I don't think he'll do that. But I think we should definitely be concerned, because the more Israel loses its control, the more they are going to be putting immense pressure on the likes of, Zurich, if they have events like Davos. Switzerland.
Is that where it is? It's in Zurich? No,
Yes.
It's in Davos. Davos is Davos. Isn't Davos is a place, isn't it?
Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, guys, but I'm pretty sure Davos is an event that is held in Zurich.
Maybe it's in Zurich. I thought Davos was the place. Like, I thought Davos is a place. Because what else is that? I don't know.
We certainly hope that you are wrong, but we don't know.
Here's the thing. Sadly, I agree. But I think that, unfortunately, that is going to be the sort of collateral damage as we watch. But we are also watching the end of the Zionist state as well. It's in its death throes as well. It might not seem like it in the moment, because they seem to be expanding into their greater Israel project and all of that. But this is going to be way more of an economic decline that's going to happen to both American empire, and simultaneously that will be the Zionist state. So while I do agree that there will Palestinians are resilient and they will be on their land, but in terms of creating a Palestinian state, that's a ways off, because I don't see it happening until the end of the Zionist state. And hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Phil. She was the VP of Mexico's AMLO. Imagine if President Bernie Sanders VP were our current president. Well, that would be somebody like Nina Turner, and unfortunately, that's not happening anytime soon. But you can always dream. Remember, guys, we are a small but mighty channel. If you are here and you're so inclined, and we certainly appreciate anybody who is here to support our small but mighty channel.
At a minimum, please hit the like button.
Go over to patreon.com/generational change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. Any amount that obviously helps us continue to facilitate these conversations is tremendously appreciated. I will give you guys final confirmation soon enough. We will have one half of Due Dissonance on Thursday. Keaton Weiss will be with us.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a surprise. I didn't know that.
Russell is over in India as we speak.
Russell's always traveling to cool places.
Hey, listen, if you're making money with your channel, that's the best thing you could do. Get out there and enjoy some downtime.
He's got this little he's got a little of this Anthony Bourdain thing going for himself. There is what he's got going on.
Russell is the type of Jewish guy that you would hang out with. That's like,
oh yeah, no, I would totally hang out with. Yeah, for sure. I like Keaton. He's just in a completely different life phase than me. Whereas, Russell's my generation. We're more kindred.
Indeed. We will have two guests on Monday night. Next Monday, we will have Jen's old slate mate, Shana Chaudhry, who is now working for Mondo Weiss. Is that what that's?
No, I love him. He's delicious. He's always been such a cutie poo.
Well, he wrote a great piece about what's going on in Palestine because he was there.
Oh, okay.
And we're also going to be speaking with congressional candidate and friend of the show, Josh Will, who is running once again for U.S. Well, this time he's running for Congress, and he's running against the scum sucker of the earth of Florida politics, Randy Fine. This neo-Nazi himself.
We'll get into that, because I don't think people outside of Florida have no clue about Randy Fine.
Yeah, Randy Fine's really
he's our treasure. Let me tell you.
And then next third, and then
I was correct. Thank you.
Yes, fair enough.
Thank you.
And then then we're going to have a special start time of 6 p.m. I have an event that I have to attend, 6 p.m. A special event that I have to attend on Thursday, February 6th. Ron Placone will be coming on to promote his new movie. So we're looking forward to that. And then the following Monday, February 10th, Sabby Sabs will be returning to Generational Change. So we have one hell of a...
Has Sabby ever been on?
She has, yes.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. It's been a
long
few
time
years.
ago. We just had Wanker. We just had Rabbi Shapiro on last week.
Yeah. No, it's going to be... It's always nice when we have our slate planned out way in advance. We have
and
a lot
there's
of great
other
guests.
things coming too, because I've gotten back into reading. And when I get into reading, that's when I start forwarding authors to Peter and be like, I want to talk to this person. And there's this woman I really want to speak with that I'm trying to coordinate.
Well, we've got, not only do we have those guests that we have coming up, but in addition, we are also going to have a lot of potential guests also coming back. John Kiriakou is going to return very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Author Ken McCarthy is going to be coming on very soon. Be on the lookout for that. Jen, you said you're reading a book right now. We're trying to get some.
I'm done with it. I just finished a book, guys, called Kissing Girls on Shabbat. And it was really, really good. It's a memoir. And we need more animal guests. Look, you mean like animals as guests? Like well, no, my dog's a pain in the ass now. So I just finished a book called Kissing Girls on Shabbat. It's by author Sarah Glass. It's quite good. It's a memoir. She was raised in a Hasidic Jewish community and a very insulated community. And it just how she was like forced into like her marriage and just all this stuff and just where she is now. And it's just a really interesting story. And I saw her on a show that I watch on YouTube called Cults to Consciousness. There's this channel called Cults to Consciousness. It's really cool. And this girl talks to people that basically have escaped cult-like lifestyles, and Hasidic Judaism falls within the cult lifestyle. And so I just found the book fascinating. There were a lot of really interesting life lessons in it. And yeah, so Kissing Girls on Shabbat, that will be, coming up. If we were doing a book club, that's what I'd be saying.
Well, with that said, we really appreciate you all being here. A shout out to Uno Mas Tacos. I do have to say, great street tacos here in Vegas. But Jen, I don't know the last time that you've been here. The prices.
You know the last time I was there because that was when you and I first started communicating.
So the prices in Vegas are so absurd that I think they may be worse than Disney World. And that is saying something.
No, it's bad. It's bad. It's not for regular people. It's not like regular people can just kind of go there and do anything.
It's the tacos that I had for dinner were good, and it cost me like $20. Okay. But I will tell you, like the prices at Starbucks, the markups at Starbucks are like twice what they are in a regular store.
Yeah.
Like twice as much.
Vegas, baby. Vegas. We used to go to Vegas all the time before we had kids. Like we used to go a lot, but it was different. And it was a little bit more, I hate to say low key because it was still Vegas, but now it's just too big. The monorails, the shit, like it's just too friggin' much.
Well,
it takes like 20 minutes to walk.
I looked online just to get an idea of what it would cost, like what the costs are, just wanted to have an idea of, is there like, am I really just overthinking this or is it just so insane? But when you have to spend $8 on a small thing of hair gel, that's insane.
Or one would argue that you should have just brought your hair gel with you.
Well, unfortunately, those things tend to be bigger, and I don't take any chances at the airport.
That's why we have travel containers. Let me explain to you how we do this. Like there's things called travel containers. It's not complicated.
So you say.
Oh, I know. I've perfected the art of traveling with toiletries.
Well, you tend to be more efficient than me.
Oh.
Hey, at least I admit it, right?
Yeah. You are definitely more high maintenance than I am.
So you just can't get off that kick.
No, I can't because it's true.
So ask, why am I going to Starbucks, Brett? Because sometimes, as much as I hate that Zion Nazi, Mr. The fuck's his name again?
You know him.
Schultz. Andrew
Howard
Schultz. So as much as I Howard Schultz. So as much as I hate Howard Schultz, sometimes when you're in your hotel and that's the only option that's in front of you, you make an exception. Now, I will say that they do make a very good egg white, spinach, feta, sun-dried tomato wrap. Do a very good job with that. That's a very good sandwich for the breakfast.
I don't eat Starbucks because I just don't. Thank you, Philip. Read Tony Greenstein's book, Zionism During the Holocaust. It's blurb by his friend, Professor Ilan Pappé, which, of course, I've read Ilan Pappé's book. He has a court date coming up there in the UK for wrong speak about Palestine at peace rallies. Yet, we are not the only country that is completely destroying people's civil liberties. It seems to be global. It's happening everywhere right now.
Sure
This
does.
is a real, like, I mean, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
Well,
that's what all those cop cities are for.
That is, thank you, Colonello. A compliment. That's rare from you, but we'll take it. I'm heading to a networking event right now. That's why I'm in Vegas. So smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We really appreciate you being here. And of course, don't judge us for having Cenk on. We'll have on other guests.
No, we'll have on whoever we want to have on.
We will. And if you have grievances with Cenk, you take it up with him. We appreciate you all. We'll see you Thursday.
Bye, everyone.